I'm going to be honest with you, boys. I think our GOAT, Dricus du Plessis, is kind of cooked. There's a lot of signs, a lot of things I don't like that are happening right now, whether it's his coach kind of being a bit delusional and a bit copish, and we'll react to that and we'll come to our own conclusion how delusional he really is. And of course, Dricus du Plessis, the state of middleweight right now is a little bit stacked, and there's a lot of guys who could give him a really tough outing. So we're going to get into it all in today's video. Of course, like, sub, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to start with his coach, Morne Visser. So Morne Visser did this interview with Submission Radio. Is there? I was about to say Morning Combat. Isn't that like Luke Tom? So they did an interview with Submission Radio, and he had a lot to say, and a lot of people had a lot of opinions on what he had to say. So we're going to react to it, come to our own conclusion. Was he coping? Is he delusional? Blah, blah, blah. Let's go.
Yeah, obviously it's hard to take like a big loss like this on the jaw. But lessons learned. I think we could have done a lot better, but I also think the ref should have done better. But
oh boy. So right off the bat, right at the beginning of the interview, he says, I think the ref should have done better. So, right off the bat, Coach DDP, right off the bat, let's keep going.
What it's like when you lose or something doesn't go your way, you always want to blame somebody else.
Okay, to his credit, he admitted he's a sore loser, basically. He admitted he's a bit of a sore loser. So, okay, I respect that. He's going to, he says, like, all right, well, you know how it goes, like, all right. So, well, you hear it there first, guys. Anything from here on out, he's at least aware of what he's saying. He's self-aware. So, let's keep going.
I do think the refs should have just made that fight a lot more live, or a little bit more live.
What do you mean by the refs? Sorry, go on. Do you mean that you wanted to see things to be stood up more? Break that down for me.
So I don't know if there was a stats afterwards of Hamzat landing like 570 shots or 550 shots, and only 37 of them were significant. So he just did enough to.
I don't mean to cut him off. Sorry, Morne Visser. I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to kind of. I've seen that a lot. A lot of people are like, yo, he broke the record for the most shots landed in a fight, but it's like. But he also broke the record for like the least amount of significant strikes. I don't know if he broke the record for it, but 20-something significant strikes. But guys, he landed little pity pat shots. Nonetheless, this is about this guy. So, it is what it is. I've seen people glaze the 500 strikes thing as if it's not like literally 95% of those strikes were just completely just insignificant as fuck. But
yeah, obviously controlled positions very, very well, and he just did enough to keep the ref not letting the fight stand up. But I think when shit goes that slow for 20 seconds, first warning, second warning, 5 seconds later, third, 5 seconds later, stand the fight up, man. So that fight was smothered with boringness. And yes, we are guilty for making it boring as well. If I just needed an extra minute at the end there. But yeah, I think the fight was smothered by a lot of boringness. I don't think the crowd was happy. I remember.
Okay, he's yapping for a while, so I'm gonna cut him off. So basically, let's talk about his boringness point. So yes, the fight is boring. The fight was boring. I wouldn't say objectively, because of course, like, it is subjective. Some people, they'll lie to you and they'll say, no, it was a really fun performance, and the way that he held him down, and the way that he tapped his jaw with those little pity pat shots, it was boring. Was it dominant? Was it impressive? Yes. Was it boring? Also, yes. Two things can be true, Hamzat fans. With him saying that the ref could have stood them up more, I agree and disagree. Because I think, like, at the end of the day, it is his duty to get up, to get out of those positions, to get out of those, just to get up. It's just his duty to get up. So I do think, yes, the ref could have stepped in. There are times where the ref could have stepped in and stood them up, and he did stand them up about twice, I believe, but I thought there were other moments that were more worthy of standing them up. Like, when he had Dricus sort of on like one knee, and then he was kind of like kneeing the butt of DDP. I thought that moment went a little bit too long. There were a few moments like that. So I agree and disagree here. I think the ref could have stood them up, but of course it is more of DDP's duty. And then, yeah, the fight being boring. When they were on the feet, it was fun. They were on the feet for like 20 seconds in total. But it was fun because DDP instantly, especially in round 5, instantly throwing big shots, big head kick, and had Hamzat backing up against the cage. And then, Hamzat takes him down, and then DDP goes for a sub. In fact, DDP was the only guy in the fight that had the real sub attempt. Hamzat didn't have any real close sub attempts at all. He had a couple where he kind of went for the choke, but nothing was close. DDP was the only one in the fight that had the closest sub attempt, which was in round 5. I don't know how they don't count, the round 1, like Darce choke is a sub attempt, but it is what it is. So, yeah, I think it's a bit 50-50, but also, yeah, it's on both fighters.
When we walked in, the crowd was booing DDP, and like 3 minutes into the fight, they were all booing Hamzat for just holding Dricus down. So, but fuck, man, he does a good job with that. He's very good at his wrestling. So, yeah, hats off to him.
Yeah.
I agree. Again, why am I didn't think I was going to agree with him this much. Let's see the deeper we get into the interview if I'm going to shit on him. But I agree with that as well. Like, and that's just an objective fact. Like, they were cheering Hamzat Chimaev during the press conference like he was like the second coming of like just anything, right? Of Conor McGregor. They were booing the shit out of DDP. By the end of the fight, in round 5, they were glazing the fuck out of DDP. They were cheering, yeah, let's go. So I don't know. It's funny that they were just cheering the fuck out of Hamzat, treating him like this big star. The fight comes and then he's just getting booed. But anyways.
Tough as well, right? Because when you're in those dominating positions, I'm just not sure if you could really, I don't know if you could really be stood up. Let me ask you this. In between the rounds, after the first round and the second round, what were you guys thinking? Are there any adjustments that you were trying to make? Because we couldn't really hear what you were saying.
This is a really good question because I feel like, I don't think DDP's coach was telling him the right things and the right adjustments to make. And a lot of people have said this, and I agree. I don't think his coach did a great job of really trying to get DDP to change anything as the fight went on. So we'll see what he says, though, about this question.
Dricus in between the rounds.
So after the first round, the very first thing I asked Dricus was he okay? Wasn't tired? Obviously, with trying to fight somebody who wrestles that hard, your arms pump up quickly. He was 100% okay. And we actually laughed about it, me and him in the corner, because I said to him, okay, this is the best he's got. That he just showed us what he can do.
And so, of course, a lot of fans, including maybe myself, I thought, Hamzat probably had 2 good rounds in him. I'll be honest, right? Like, I was wrong. I was completely wrong about Hamzat Chimaev. I thought he would exert more energy. Like, of course, he didn't really try to go for the finish in the first 2 rounds the way he usually does. So he definitely paced himself. So it wasn't like, whoa, Hamzat went for the finish and he had godly cardio on top of that. It's like, no, he paced himself more than he usually does. With that being said, though, I do think that's a mistake if you're DDP and his coach, expecting him to only have 1 good round. Because, yeah, maybe the fans were going to expect that. But if you're the coach, you should train and you should tell your fighter, like, he could probably do this for 5 rounds. So you can't go in there like, well, give him the first round because he ain't going to hold this up for 5. It's like, but what if he does? You have to be prepared for the what if. You know what I mean? So let's keep going.
And he's going to keep on trying to do that. And I just didn't think that he will try to do that for 5 rounds. So we were communicating between the rounds. I think after the third, I said to Dricus, okay, we are 3 down now. Do you want to take him down? And he said to me, coach, he's too wet, too slippery. And look, we've learned a lot. Lot to go back to. I've been asked, do we want to do a rematch? I said, absolutely not. Obviously, we would like to fight.
I like that. I like that from DDP's coach. I'm finding that I don't think it's that bad. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, DDP's coach is like a dumbass and he's a terrible coach. Like he's saying some decent things here. DDP's coach though, him asking Dricus, do you want to take him down? I mean, that's not a bad strategy, to be honest with you, because like at that point, he's still going to come at you. He's still going to take you down. He's still going to try to take you down. So trying to beat him to the punch, trying to beat him to the takedown is not really a a bad strategy or really a bad call from DDP's coach. But of course, Dricus said he's too slippery and whatever the case may be. But I don't think that's that bad of a call. But obviously, it didn't work, right?
Fight him very soon again. But there's no way I'll take a rematch with us being a little bit behind in our rush.
I really, really like that from DDP's coach. I really like that he's saying, like, no, I wouldn't take a rematch against Khamzat Chimaev at this stage because we're just not at his level right now. You know, we're just not, wrestling-wise at least. I still think DDP is a better striker and whatever the case may be, but, like, wrestling-wise, you know, we're not on his level. We're not on his level in terms of the grappling, in terms of, you know, us getting out of these bad positions and the scrambles and the this and the that. We're just not on his level. So if they offered us a rematch, we're going to just simply turn it down. I really like that because a lot of fighters, like, for example, we saw, like, you know, Tim Welch and Sean O'Malley, they took the rematch against Merab. Yes, they took some time off to prepare, but realistically, looking back in hindsight, now that O'Malley got dominated in the rematch against Merab, he should have fought like a Henry Cejudo. That was a crazy voice crack. He should have fought like a Henry Cejudo or somebody, like a Peter Yan maybe, Mario Batista, Umar, somebody like that. In the meantime, Figueiredo, so many names, Corey Sandhagen, I can name like any bantamweight on the roster other than Merab. Just to prepare, just to get into that mode, get your mojo back, get your confidence back. See how it is, see how you're going to fight. Instead of just, oh, I lost the title fight against the toughest guy of my career. He completely out-grappled me. You know, I know that the first Merab fight with Sean was a little bit close, but still, it wasn't really a good performance from O'Malley at all, or from Merab, but still, you know. So then you say, oh, we're going to go right back into the rematch? Meanwhile, Merab just beat Umar Nurmagomedov while you've been sitting on your butt. So I like this from DDP's coach. I like the idea that we're not going to take a rematch. I like the idea of DDP facing like a Mavov first or De Ritter or Hernandez, even though all these guys are booked up. However the cookie crumbles, whoever ends up in front of DDP, whoever ends up available, I like the idea that they're going to fight somebody first, then get to Khamzat. Because realistically, DDP and his coach and his management, they could push for a rematch. You know, DDP was a reigning, defending champion, multiple title defenses, pretty big star, I would say. I mean, you know, a lot of people would say DDP's not a star. No one cares about DDP, but you cared about him in Adesanya. You cared about him in Khamzat. He's the second half of those fights. So let's be honest. If it was Khamzat versus like Sean Strickland, would you guys care as much? Fuck no. It is what it is. Let's keep going, though. So I agree, and I'm glad that he's not going to throw DDP right back into that fire.
Russian style of wrestling. That is what it is, nothing else. He just knows how to control you on the floor. I mean, if you look at when Dricus punched him, he just wobbled. When Dricus kicked him, he wobbled. That's why he went straight for shooting. And when you look at submission attempts and almost landed, was done by Dricus, not by Khamzat. Khamzat was doing one thing. That's keeping the fight on the floor and make sure that the ref doesn't stand it up. That's all he did, nothing else. So we had the more submission attempts and almost success. Obviously the stand-up, we dominated him. I don't even think there was 2 minutes of stand-up. But yeah, so we've got to go back to the drawing board soon.
So again, I don't necessarily, I mean, he's right. Like, he is right. He was, you know, you saw like the little moments they had on the feet. Dricus was winning. I don't think that's delusion. To me personally, I don't think that's him being delusional or, oh, look at it, his coach is yapping about. He's right. Like, when they were on the feet, was he rocking Khamzat? I wouldn't say that. You know, but again, all of this comes down to, at the end of the day, it was Dricus's, what's the word I'm looking for? Whatever the word I'm looking for, prerogative, I guess. It was his prerogative to get up. It was his job to get up. You know, Khamzat, he did his thing. Was it, again, very boring? Yes, of course it was. Objectively, I would say it was boring. Oh, no, actually, it wasn't boring. It was boring. But you can't blame Khamzat Chimaev for what he did. So it is what it is.
There's a lot of things happening in the middleweight division now. I believe Khamzat wants to fight in, October in Abu Dhabi. And I think if the UFC pulls that off, it will most probably be Hernandez or De Ritter. And if not,
So, of course, this was recorded before they announced Hernandez versus De Ridder, which is an insanely sick fight, by the way.
I think Hernandez and De Ridder will fight it out, and Imamov and Baradia will fight it out. And between the four of them, there'll be another number one contender. In the meantime, we've got to fix our shit ASAP. And I know what to do. I know exactly what to do. And where to do it. It's a big change for us, a big move. We're going to have to make a big move here to fix things. But, I
don't know what that change or move is, but hopefully that change is bringing in Craig Jones. I think a lot of people suggested they should bring in Craig Jones for, Dricus to work. He should have been brought in Craig Jones. I mean, what the fuck were you doing? But he could really counteract that Dagestani Russian style. And I think, again, I don't want to say, I hate when people do this thing where a coach will say one thing delusional or their fighter will lose one time and all of a sudden Mornay Visser is a bad coach. How? DDP got to the title. But with that being said, he is saying some things that are a bit delusional. But also with that being said, I was going to go into this thinking, he's going to be extremely delusional. He's going to cope. It's really not that bad. He's pretty tame for what I thought he was going to, how I thought he was going to be, what I thought he was going to say.
If we had an extra minute, that fight would have been ours. So it is what
Never mind. Forget it. You heard what you just said. Well, see that. There you go. That's a form of coping, right? If I had an extra minute, then we would have won and shit. If my grandpa had balls, well, then he'd be my grandpa. If my grandma had balls, then she'd be my What am I trying to say? I don't know what I'm talking about. What the fuck? Anyway, so yeah, I mean, if they had an extra minute, bro, like, come on, what are we doing here? You had 5 rounds. You had 25 minutes. So I get that Dricus had a good last minute of the fight, but come on, bro. Like, if we had an extra minute, if we had an extra round, if I had an extra cock, like, come on. Play.
Man said.
Yeah, the fight game is crazy, man. Let me ask you this. So, did the UFC ask you guys about an immediate rematch? Is that what you mean? Someone asked you if you guys were interested?
Everybody asked me afterwards.
Okay, yeah.
We're going to ask for it. We deserve it. I said, no, man, you don't deserve a rematch after you've been dominated that badly on the floor. If it was a close
you got to respect. You have to, like, I know this is like the thing to like shit on his coach right now, like from everybody. But like, are we going to ignore that he just said that? He just said, look, we're not going to take a rematch where we just got dominated on the ground. Like, bro, like come on. Like, I don't know. I feel like he's right. He's absolutely right. I really respect that he's not going to throw DDP into the fire. I already said this, but I really, it's such a different mindset that a lot of coaches do have. Again, Tim Loach. Yeah, we're going to take that rematch against Merab. And, I know O'Malley took a lot of time off and he healed his injuries, but that's not the same as like taking a fight in between. That would have been better, right? So I like that that's his mindset. Because he knows, look, if we take a rematch against Hamza, it's going to go the same way. We're just too behind right now, and we need actual real preparation. We probably need to fight another grappler like a Hernandez or a De Ridder first. Then we could get our rematch. Because they deserve a rematch. DDP deserves a rematch. But they're turning it down, obviously.
Close fight. Yeah, maybe. But even if they did ask me, and it wasn't close at all, we need to work on. So we've practiced everything except a crucifix. And he had this.
Oh, that's not good. That's not good. That's really pretty stupid, right? We practice everything except you should have practiced everything and the crucifix. Why would you forget to practice a pretty? I guess it's not. Look, I understand the crucifix is not necessarily a common. So it's really hard to get somebody in a crucifix on the ground, is what I'm trying to say. So I understand maybe they just didn't expect it, but you still should have trained it. It's still a possibility. It's still something that could have happened. I don't know. I think that's pretty silly. Even if you should have trained, like if Hamza would go for a triangle, every submission, any position, anything you could think of, you should have trained. So not training the crucifix is pretty silly in my opinion. I understand Hamza is not known for his godly crucifix, but still, you got to prepare for everything, really. What if Hamza threw a spinning wheel kick? You're going to say, oh, but we didn't train for a wheel kick? You got to prepare for everything.
Why did he trap the arm very high, almost trapped the bicep, tricep, and the shoulder with that crucifix? So it feels like you've got movement, but so you can give the one arm up to roll the other one out, or roll in and back out, but he just doesn't allow it. He's just so tight with it. Plus he's tall, so he really opened Dricus up. And then all those little punches didn't mean a lot, but obviously, like I said, meant a lot or enough for the ref to keep the fight down. So, no, I won't take a rematch. A few things need to happen for us. Dricus didn't take any damage. Stitches on his jaw, a couple of stitches on his jaw, but nothing serious. I mean, 570 bee stings, that's what it was. Really no punishment. It's sad to lose like that. I would have not mind if it was a proper brawl, and then you lose with unanimously when there was a proper brawl. There was nothing.
Yeah, but like, why would Khamzat Chimaev get in a brawl with DDP? Like, again, okay, now we're getting into the bit of coping here and the bit of delusion here from this guy. I mean, Khamzat's not going to get in a brawl with you. He's not going to get in a brawl with Dricus. He's not going to get in the pocket with you guys. Like, what is he saying? Oh, I wish we would have got into a brawl, or I wish we would have lost in a brawl. Or, I understand what he's saying. He's saying, like, I wish DDP would have lost in a more entertaining fashion is what he's trying to say. Because even the Adesanya fight, that was a bit of a back and forth, and the first Strickland fight was a bit of a back and forth. So I understand what he's saying, but that's just not what happened, and that was not going to happen. You should have not went into it like, oh, but if Khamzat brawls with us, he's cooked. No, he's not going to brawl with you. So I don't know.
It's crazy because one day you guys are on top of the world, right? And now you're dealing with some negativity from fans, and this kind of fight where you mentioned it, you would have preferred for it to maybe go a different way. Mentally, how is Dricus doing? Because mentally, that is one of his strengths, right? He had a great deal of, he handled the loss very respectfully. He showed a lot of...
Yeah, correct. Can I just say this? Correct me if I'm wrong. Dricus has not said anything. Like, I feel like Dricus du Plessis is kind of getting shitted on for, like, no reason. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, I understand he talked a little bit of trash. Like, it was all in fun and, like, in jest, It's weird to me that Dricus has kind of been receiving a bit of hate, I've noticed. And his coach, I understand his coach is kind of like his spokesperson right now. So his coach is going to take a lot of the heat and a lot of the bullets for Dricus, whereas Dricus has been kind of quiet. But I don't know. I feel like Dricus is getting a lot of shit for like no reason. He fought his fight. He lost. He got dominated. But it's like, I don't know. It's not like an O'Malley thing where O'Malley was like doing all this and, dude, I'm going into this camp. I'm going to knock out Merab, and I've stopped jerking off. I've stopped smoking weed. And it wasn't like this whole big thing. It was just Dricus going into another. Dricus barely talked as much shit as he usually does, like against Strickland and Adesanya. I don't know. It's kind of weird to me.
A lot of, the way that he spoke about after the fight, he was very positive. He seemed like he understood what went wrong. Mentally, what is the road to sort of coming back for Dricus after this loss? Because we've seen some champions struggle to come back after losses like this. For those people that think that this might be it for Dricus, what is your message to them?
This is really personal for Dricus and me. We are very possibly the worst losers. And I always ask people when they want to join my team, even guys from abroad, when they want to come and train in my gym, I ask them, how do you feel about losing? And when they say stupid things like, it happens, so you've got to take it when it comes your way, and you've got to be a good loser. I say, sorry, man, this gym is not for you.
Oh boy, you guys hear that? If you train at Dricus du Plessis' coach's gym, if you train at Mornay Visser's gym in South Africa and you lose, he's gonna whip you. So DDP, he's probably getting whipped right now by his coach. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I mean, look, there you go. He admitted, like, we are bad losers. We are sore losers. So, again, I don't know. I feel like he's admitting his faults. He's admitting that he's going to be a bit delusional. He's going to cope a little bit. I don't think this is just like a terrible interview where he's just saying all the wrong things the way I feel like people are making it seem.
I fucking hate losing, and Dricus hates losing. So, his mindset is just, we're getting back. We're getting back. As soon as you won't even realize, he's going to take a week off, and we've got big plans. I've started already last night and this morning with our next big move, our plans to change and fix the problem.
I wonder, what do you guys think his like big plans are? Craig Jones? Is he actually bringing in Craig Jones? That's the only thing I can think of. Like, that's the kind of the first thing that goes to my head when he's saying like, these big plans, I got this big plan, big things, I'm kind of thinking he's going to try to bring in Craig Jones. And if he does that, I know the Craig Jones, it's a bit of a meme, like he's the anti-Dagestani, but legitimately, the Craig Jones method works against Dagestani-type fighters. So I truly think that would be the way to go here for DDP and his team and his coach. So here he's going to answer a question about the kind of wrestling they prepared for. Did they prepare for the Russian style of grappling? And let's just react to this.
So we've really put a big effort into getting the right wrestlers, Russian wrestlers, in from around the world. And in our teammate, Hugo from France, who's also a good grappler wrestler. And in all my guys in my gym to come and help to fix our wrestling. And, well, not fix it, to help with Hamzat's style of wrestling. And the biggest problem is when you've got 10 guys in your weight division, your size, bigger, with good wrestling, and we've learned from a very famous Russian, I don't want to mention his name now, exactly how to handle Hamzat. So we've put the effort in, traveled, learned from the guy, got a few guys in, got my guys to understand what we want to do with Hamzat and how we need to get out. But this is where the problem kicked in.
So they did all that, but just didn't train the crucifix. I'm sorry, but it's like the crucifix was the issue. But you trained with some legendary Russian guy that you don't even want to say his name. He's this mythical Russian guy and all that, but you couldn't get out of the crucifix.
This whole camp, I would put Dricus in on wrestling days, and we had a lot more wrestling days than stand-up days because we knew that was what Hamzat was going to do. So I would put Dricus in the worst possible position, full rear naked.
Except the crucifix. Because to be honest, and I think the thing is a lot of people, again, shitting on Dricus. Let's give him credit, though. Like, he was defensively sound. And I understand Hamzat wasn't really going for chokes the way, again, like he usually does, which is why we all said it was boring. But Dricus was defensively sound. He wasn't allowing himself to get choked out. Even when Hamzat maybe was going for a rear naked choke, DDP got out of it pretty quick. And obviously that's why they didn't count it as a submission attempt, because it just didn't last very long at all. But there were a few moments where Hamzat would try to go for something. I think he had like a Kimura that he tried to go for as well, but DDP got out of it pretty quick. So, yeah, DDP was like grappling-wise, jiu-jitsu-wise, pretty good.
X-lock, everything. Worst scenario. Then I would say go. And Dricus took between 15 and 30 seconds to get out of any of those positions. And then we would start over. Next bad position, next bad position, next bad position, next bad. Every bad position on the wall, in the middle of the mat. And max 30 seconds, Dricus would get out, reverse and control position. Okay? The difference is with Hamzat is he holds you so tight that it's going to take another type of preparation. He holds you so tight and he's so in control of what he does. It's going to take for me to find guys that can stay in there for the first try, the second try, the third try, and the fourth try, for Dricus to learn how to get out from that. So in other words, stay deep in the mud and get out the fourth time or the fifth time and reset and try again and try again and try again.
I don't really mind this mindset either from DDP. You know what? I'm going to title this video, DDP's coach is not coping, because to be honest, this ain't really that bad from him.
And try again. So this was absolutely new territory for us. We trained and got it right for Dricus to get out every time within 30 seconds, reverse position, control position. And with this guy, I mean, he keeps you there for 2-3 minutes. And I'm going to have to, well, I'm already busy with, get guys that does it like Hamzat do or better, where Dricus is going to have to work for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 exchanges to get out, but does not stop. Hamzat, we've tried, and if you relook at the fight, Dricus tried once, got stopped. Tried once, maybe twice, got stopped. Reset, try again. Reset, try again. We need a lot more than that. We need 4, 5, 6 times.
You
3,
think?
4, 5 times. 3, 4, 5 times. We need to.
I kind of think he should have already done this, to be honest with you. But obviously, they didn't expect Hamzat to be that strong or whatever. But I kind of do think you should have already tried to make these adjustments in the cage. Again, the whole thing, he did all that, but he didn't train. The crucifix kind of annoys me, but I understand. I do think that his coach has some moments of delusion. Though he is self-admittedly a sore loser, though he is self-admittedly can't take losses well, him and Dricus. But I also think there are moments that aren't that bad from his coach. And there are moments in this video and in this interview that are promising if you're a Dricus fan. So that was pretty much the interview. To be honest, I don't think it was like super bad. There were moments of delusion. There were moments of ignorance. But I don't think it was this insanely bad interview the way I kind of feel like other people have made it seem. But still, not the best look, of course, but also not the worst. I wanted to also pull up this quote from Dricus du Plessis, which I don't know where these guys found it, but he says, "I couldn't get him off me. I even stuck my finger up his ass, and he looked in my eyes and said, 'Oh yeah, I like that, brother.'" So, yeah, this was a pretty crazy moment where he shoved his middle finger up. Anyway, what the fuck? Let's even have a look at the rest of middleweight, right? So you got, DDP, of course, is still number one. A Mavov is right under him. I mean, DDP versus a Mavov, how would that go? I think DDP has a good chance, to be honest, of beating a Mavov. But a Mavov does have really good cardio and pressure. And his wrestling is not that bad. I don't think it's as good as Khamzat. I mean, I truly do think Khamzat is the best grappler maybe the sport's ever seen. So I wouldn't be like terrified for DDP versus a Mavov. But a Mavov is a good counter striker. He's got good timing. He's got a good chin as well. So it would be a tricky fight for him. Strickland he's beat already fucking twice. Adesanya he's beat. RDR, ooh. RDR DDP. RDR is very similar to DDP, but he is taller. He's a bit lankier. He's got really good jiu-jitsu and he's pretty strong. I do think RDR could give DDP problems. I do think RDR could really... Ooh, that would kind of worry me a little bit, RDR versus DDP. Because I feel like his jiu-jitsu is very good, RDR, His clinch work is good. Is DDP stronger than RDR? Maybe, but like even then, now I'm not really going to go off of strength because I thought DDP would be much stronger than Khamzat, and he got out-muscled. So RDR could have the strength advantage either way. The technique, I would imagine, is better. I'd imagine he's a much better grappler than DDP. He does have a lot of subs on his record. Ooh, that's a tricky one for him, Anthony Hernandez, same thing, man. I think Anthony Hernandez is a bad matchup for anybody at middleweight, even Khamzat. I would pick Khamzat to beat him, but he's a freaking, I don't even know. I can't even speak. Like, he's just a monster, man. His cardio, his pressure, his wrestling, his jiu-jitsu, his chin. That would be a tough one for DDP as well, Because DDP can't just... I don't think he'd be able to put his lights out, or even if he outstrikes Hernandez, I think, could get takedowns on DDP. I think his jiu-jitsu is very, very, very good. His pressure for 5 rounds is insane. I actually would argue he probably has better cardio and pressure than Khamzat, maybe. Because he really tries to go for subs every round, which is why usually you'll see Anthony Hernandez get the sub in the 5th or the 4th a lot of times, because he really goes for the finish from rounds 1 to rounds 5. So that would be a bad matchup for DDP, man. I might lean Hernandez, Braujo. Good grappling, good chin, good patience. I might lean DDP. I don't know, I feel like there's more questions about Braujo than there are answers, if that makes any sense. I know more about Hernandez and De Ridder than I do about Braujo. Not because I don't watch Braujo's fights, but because his best opponent is Jared Cannonier, and he took him to a decision. Which is okay, because he almost finished him, but a decision. Robert Whittaker, of course, he beat. Brendan Allen. It's Brendan Allen. MVP. Ooh. MVP, MVP, I don't know, folks. MVP, man, I don't know who could beat this guy. I think DDP could probably take MVP down, but, man, could you get to MVP's legs? MVP is, especially that goofy striking style of DDP, man. If MVP starts piecing you up, I think he's a bad matchup for, like, anybody, MVP, in the sport. Anybody, even JDM, he's a bad matchup for. Jared Cannonier, The Lizzy's a bum. Paulo Costa, ooh. I mean, if he fights like he did against Kopylov, that could be tricky for DDP. I'm not even joking. Paulo Costa looked really good in his last fight. He looked like prime Paulo Costa. I would argue that's Paulo Costa's best performance. He was completely switched on. He was in phenomenal shape. He was shaking at the presser because he took coke. Like, honestly, Then you have Vettori and Kopylov. So overall, I do think, and I didn't even speak about DDP versus Khamzat in a rematch, but look, if DDP's coach makes the adjustments that are necessary, if he brings in Craig Jones and he trains DDP to get out of those bad positions, like he said he did, but times 5, is there a chance DDP could beat Khamzat? Yes. I do think still, and I stand by this, DDP is a much, much, much better striker than Khamzat. With that being said, though, what does that matter if you're just going to get taken down? So whatever strategy they have to figure out for DDP to beat Khamzat, whether that's, I don't know, maybe DDP goes for takedowns first, or he tries to stuff the takedowns, whatever they have to change up, which in my opinion, they should have just changed up in between the fucking rounds instead of, oh, well, we'll get him next time, champ. It's like, yeah, but I don't know, man. I'm worried, but of course, I do think DDP has a chance against all of these guys in the top 15. I mean, I'm worried about him versus Vettori. I feel like Vettori might piece up DDP. But no, I do think DDP has a good chance against guys like De Ridder, Hernandez, Khamzat Chimaev. But, of course, this video wouldn't be a video without me admitting that I, as a DDP fan, am worried about DDP. I am worried about some of the things his coaches said. Do I think his coach is completely delusional? No. I don't think it's as bad as people are saying, but do I think his coach has some delusional elements? Yes. Do I think his coach is going to make the right adjustments? Hopefully. I do like his coach's mindset, not giving DDP the rematch, not accepting the rematch right away, allowing DDP to improve his grappling first before they take a rematch right away, like a lot of other fighters would. We've seen in the past, like Sean O'Malley, which is the best example, or even Alex Pereira, who's facing Ankalaev next. I like the idea. I like the mindset from DDP's coach. And, DDP himself is not really saying anything that has me worried or anything, but I do think looking at the landscape of middleweight, how fast the division is moving, and Khamzat Chimaev, how good Khamzat Chimaev looked, I am worried about DDP, but I'm never going to fully lose hope. So like and sub, comment, share. Let me know your thoughts. Peace.